So, CARLYNCIA PECK, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Glenn.
And thanks for joining us. Filmmaker, uh, let me see if I'm pronouncing this right. ViaJ or Viaj?
Viag Entertainment.
Viag Entertainment. Awesome, awesome. So, producer, filmmaker, film and TV professional extraordinaire. Um, so, tell me a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what you've been up to.
Yeah, well, I'm in this company of creatives, and so I don't limit myself to anything. I've been very blessed to hold a lot of gifts, talents, and skill sets over the years, and I'm in the business of putting them all to work for the better of humanity. As far as Viage Entertainment comes along, it stands for Via Jehovah, and so we though we are not a faith-based company in terms of like a nonprofit or a church or something, we do place the values of God in the forefront of all we do creatively. And so this is so that we can enjoy more of an all-inclusive, family-friendly entertainment experience, right? So we do a lot of training of clients, different areas of performing arts, media training. We do lots of that in professional development, as well as moving over into the event planning space. And that's getting very fun right now
Right.
with a lot of, events that we're one, face-to-face events that now have to go online. So helping people to kind of make that transition. We also do personal image and styling. We have some media production, as you say, with filmmaking and so forth. We do writing. So it's a number of different ways that our talents are used, and we're really blessed to be in that position.
Yeah, and I've had probably just about every other guest I've had on the show. It's always led to this idea of being blessed, and whether their projects are faith-based or not, I think it goes without saying that you have to kind of accept, especially in like this, in our market, the DMV market. But
Yeah.
anybody that's like even semi-successful in media and arts, it's such a high venture, high risk kind of enterprise to get into. And I so of course I've always brought up blessed because I still stayed relatively well employed during the quarantine,
Yeah.
having so the whole question was, when was I blessed with a hindsight to have a number of fallbacks but keep all those fallbacks. You know how people say, an actor is going to have a fallback in realty, in real estate, in finance or something. They're going to fall back on that fallback. But
Right.
my fallback, I always try to maintain all these different fallbacks in, say, film and TV, or
Yeah.
audio and video of some sort, and live
Yeah.
streaming, and
That's great.
delving into podcasts. So we've all, just about every other guest of mine, if not all of them, have said the word blessed, maybe with a different word, but the same meaning, blessed.
Yeah.
I've been blessed. I've been blessed.
Absolutely.
Struggling actors, but they still, hey, listen, I'm on TV. You can find me on TV.
That's right. And you
And
get to use what it is that's poured on the inside of you.
yeah,
There's a purpose for our gifts and our talents and our skill sets. And so to be able to be in a position to use them again for the betterment of humanity, all of art is a slice of life, right?
mhm,
No matter what you're talking about, visual art, dance, theater, all these things are a slice out of life that we get to represent in front of people to lead people into a better understanding, of themselves, of the world around us, and how we cohabitate here on this earth. So it's really, really, like you said, true blessing to be in this field.
yeah, absolutely. So, how would you say you've been impacted currently by last 6 months during the quarantine, the
Yeah,
shelter in
you know,
place?
it was so, and I guess maybe this is just because we're creatives, but the fact is, we are used to adapting,
Hmm.
and adjusting, because say for instance, we're in a film production and all in pre-production, we planned it all out perfectly.
Right.
But when it comes to production, things have to, adjustments have to be made. And so I think, in the vein of us being creative people, we just know how to just make the adjustment. We have really, really, we've been super busy since this whole thing started. It seems like we're more busy now than before. I can't figure out how,
Right.
but it just seems like it's just pouring in. And maybe because it's digital, maybe people now have time to really enjoy the leisure, of their lives, which can be the arts at times. But we've been tremendously busy. We've added on different opportunities, and well, opportunities have come to us that are different than the things that we have been about. So we're exploring some other things. And then those things that we always do, training and so forth, there just is a very, very large need for it right now, especially in the area of professional development. One of our social media posts, that we kept posting over and over again was, hey, use this time to get better, right? If you're at home and you have the time to, like you said, read a book or something like that, that's great. But you can also practice on your presentation skills, and you can kind of get your wardrobe together, different things, so that when we do get back to whatever the new normal looks like in terms of face to face, you'll be in a better place. You'll have improved yourself, and you'll feel better about yourself. I think when we invest in ourselves in those ways, even if it's just going to walk around a track for 20 minutes, when you get in that car on your way home, you're like, wow, I did it. I did something for me today. I did something to improve myself today. So I think it has so many different facets of improvement in our way that we see ourselves, our self-esteem, our self-worth. And then also, the diversity in the world. We have this thing going on now. I call them two pandemics we have going on right now. But the fact is, I think they're meant to bring about a change in us that will be for the better as a whole. And you're starting to see some of that. I think we have to kind of dig behind the weeds of what we see on television and what we're reading about in the paper and all that. You have to kind of dig around that and look for the good in it. There is good in it, and there's going to be good to come from it. Obviously, our hearts go out and our prayers go up, for people who have lost people in COVID or who are struggling with it. My husband and I both had a bout of it very early in May. And it was, thank God, only 2 weeks for us. He was hospitalized for a week, so he was really bad with it.
Yeah.
But we were over it within 2 weeks, which is a total blessing. We haven't had any symptoms after that, And of course, we don't know with being asymptomatic and those kinds of things, the medical community is still figuring that out. Mm-hmm. And, even with that, I think we just have to be people where we are allowing people room. It's just the medical community, this kind of took them by surprise, like us. They were a bit more versed in it. So they had some preliminary opinions of what was going on, or, whether we should wear the mask or not wear the mask. But as they've learned more, they've grown in their understanding and they've had to make adjustments. So I think we have to be patient with people, and really exercise some real compassion toward not only those certainly that have lost lives or suffering with the disease, but we also have to be very forgiving of our medical community, because they are definitely on the front line. Who's going to get up in the morning knowing that, there are tons of people around them that have this virus that they don't understand, but yet they're going to go to work anyway and treat these people and make sure that they're comfortable and so forth. So we really, really have to applaud our medical community, those in the healthcare industry, whether they be staff, administrators, doctors, nurses, medical professionals of any type. We just have to, be patient with them, and we have to encourage them and not be so judgmental about their work. Right. Because we are not in that position that we can make anyone better.
Yeah, well, especially us. I mean, if we're media entertainment, we're not, obviously, we don't know it all as far as medical goes. So of course, depending on what we do for a living, we kind of have to trust the system to an extent.
Yes,
you kind of have to. And at the worst case scenario, I mean, we have to think. A lot of common sense has to go into it, where they're saying, masks. Everyone has to wear a mask. Mask this, mask that. And I might be one that says, listen, I'm not going to get it. I've got a great immune system. I'm not going to get it. None of my friends are going to get it. But listen, for the benefit of the general public and just common courtesy, if you hold doors open for somebody, or if you're going to help an old lady across the street, then you're going to wear a mask.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think that mask thing has to kind of fall in under the same aspect of, holding doors open for people
Yeah.
behind you, or helping some, or holding the door for somebody that has their hands full trying to
That's right.
get out of the building, those sort of
Sure.
things.
Sure. Common courtesies, like
It's
you
just
said.
common courtesy. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to dwell here together. We have to inhabit this earth together. So while we're here, the better we do that, the more peace there will be overall, And like you said, what does it hurt to help someone, or to just put the mask on? That's what helps everyone else, Like you said, you may not be the one that feels like you're going to get sick with it, but just for the consideration of others, again, goes back to that word compassion and empathy,
Yeah.
for other people. But we've become over the years a very self-centered community,
Hmm.
and that the society itself just is very self-absorbed. I don't think that social media has helped that. I actually think it has
Yeah.
hurt that, because we're so involved with how people see us and what's going on for us. What's in it for me? What do
Sure.
I get out of it?
I mean, I'm on all the different platforms, so I think it depends on what kind of platform and what you followed before. So like based on what you follow, you're going to see stuff. Now, as far as social media goes, I think, in my opinion, I still think it's kind of 50-50. You've got a lot of nuts out there, and then you've got a lot of compassionate, community-based folks that are like, here's some bright side to life, and here's some great moments that happened in the last month or something like that. It's
Yeah.
there. You have your ups, you have your downs, you have your selfish, self-centered
Mhm.
lunatics out there, and then you've got the more community, more uh you know open-hearted, good-hearted folks that are uh putting content out there that's focusing on, like you said, the more compassionate, the more common sense. I
Yeah.
think and it's not even about, let's just take compassion out of it. Let's just think common sense.
Yeah, common sense.
What,
Right.
like, if you're gonna
Yeah,
get
just go ahead and
dressed,
break it down, Glenn. Go ahead, break it down.
if you're gonna put on your shoes to leave the
Yes,
house,
yes.
shoes are
Exactly.
uncomfortable. I'm not wearing shoes. I'm not gonna
Right.
wear clothes. I'm not even gonna wear clothes, and I'm not gonna wear underwear. And I'm not gonna wipe my butt after. So it's like an extra sock. It's just on your
Yes,
face. It's
that's
common
right.
sense.
That's right.
I'm not going to take an umbrella. Water doesn't bother me. And then
Right, right.
it's like, I think it's common sense, not even compassion. But of course, you have to be compassionate. I
Yeah,
think common sense and like the bare minimum of compassion, to just like do the absolute least. And
yeah,
I've got a pretty good system, when I take the kid, and I told you, and I also, I'm so glad you guys got over COVID. I remember you and I were having some scheduling,
yeah.
change, a number of scheduling changes. And I know this morning I had to send you a text, like I might be 10 minutes late. So I
Yeah.
gotta drop off the kid, because I remember, when I was a kid, well, maybe I don't really even remember being in a car seat, but I remember I would just jump in the car. The parents would kick me out, and then they'd be out. But now it's like, well, him being 6 months, you got to put him in the car seat,
That's
lock
right.
him up. I got to put on my mask. I got
Yeah,
to make sure I have hand sanitizer. I drop him off to daycare, then I hand sanitize, and I get back in the car. And
yeah,
then once I'm in the car, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going straight home. Now I can take the mask off in the car,
yeah,
but sometimes I might not even take the mask off. I got to run another errand. you know,
yeah,
I had, I mean, I, it must have been, more difficult, but then more simple. I remember an uncle of mine told me when he was 5, his mom, they were so broke, his mom had twins alone. And my uncle was about 5. So he had to sit on the floor of the front seat with the twins in his hands.
wow,
And
wow,
while the mom, who just gave birth, I think 24 hours ago, had to drive back to the house or something. It was insane. It was a different state. I think it was in the 50s, and it was a different state. But
yeah,
now it's like step by step by step by step. In
absolutely,
the
yeah.
old days, they probably just, all right, just sit there, don't move.
That's right, absolutely,
6 months, 1 year, 2 years old, and now we've got like crazy car seat contraptions.
that's
And
right,
I'm wrenching my neck trying to like grab the button and then pull that out, or just take him out of the seat in the car.
yeah,
But
yeah.
there's all these different steps, and you just have to make it muscle memory.
That's
You
it.
you really have.
It just becomes a part of your new lifestyle,
Yeah.
And the thing about this that I think people are not maybe fully recognizing is the fact that this is temporal. It's not for eternity. This is just for a set amount of time,
It's
and
temporary.
then we'll be able to take the mask off again. It's not anything permanent. And I just think people get into this place of either fear or, like you said, selfishness. It really kind of boils down to, what do I want to do? And I really don't care about anyone else, and that's not the way we're supposed to be living. As you say, what does it hurt you to help someone with two bags of groceries in their hand that can't open the door for themselves, for you to open the door for them, no matter what they look like, or, how many children are with them, or what. No judgments whatsoever. Just, I see someone who needs help and I'm able to help. And so I'm going to do that. Like you
Yeah.
said, common sense. It should be. It should
And,
be, but it's not for all people.
and I think the problem is that a lot of these folks just don't like getting outside their comfort level.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
I think I'm just about to reach 10 years military service, and it's only National Guard. It's only, 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in the summer, but still, every drill, there's just something thrown at us last minute we weren't expecting, and it's just like, okay, so either quit
Yep.
or
Push
or let's
through it.
or let's figure it out and push
Yeah.
through.
That's it. That's it.
And comfort level type stuff. I mean, there's a few things around the house that I don't like getting shook up, but you know, I think the sanctity of my house, I should have some sort of comfort level.
That's
But
right.
military filmmaking, like you said, I mean, adapting. You've prepped these films or these projects, and now it's like COVID. Okay, how do we pull this off? And it's like,
Yeah.
hey, easy,
Yeah.
copy,
That's
copy and paste.
right.
Just all one location now. You
Yes.
had all these different locations, all these
Right.
copy and paste.
That's it.
Rooftop.
Yep. Yep. And different angles. You
And
become more creative because you say, okay, I only have one location.
mhm,
So now I have to make do with that, but I have to make it look like we're in different places, or,
mhm.
present to the audience different moods, what's going on here in the scene. So it just helps to bring out the best in us if we allow it to.
Absolutely, yeah. And I like challenges,
Yeah, why not? It
but
helps us to grow.
even before the quarantine, me and some colleagues were working on some web series, and we figured out, I always like to call them production hacks. We figured out a production hack to make some really cool, sci-fi superhero stuff at like with pennies,
Okay. Yeah.
beer and pizza budget, and
Okay.
and and it was and so then there's the headbutting where it's like, well, we can do this, and I'm like, this, let's make this the vision, and
Yeah.
now it works now.
Right.
But then it's like, oh, I just figured out a way to kind of add something to it for, again, pennies and
Yeah.
beer and pizza budget, and
Yep.
it's just copy paste. But let's simplify it, let's streamline it,
That's it.
s-
Streamlining it.
so that we already have the vision and the quality aspect,
Yeah.
but now here's a way to just copy and paste
That's
and
it.
streamline and
Yeah.
simplify, sacrifice a little bit, but
That's
to
right.
but then to make the quantity and the
That's right.
and like the mass content base. We already have the vision and the quality.
Yeah.
So but then taking that into real life,
That's
it's
it.
like, muscle memory with the mask and muscle
Yeah.
memory with the gloves and the hand sandy. And like you said, being blessed, I must have been blessed again with hindsight. And I think about 2 years ago, I bought these huge tower of hand sanitizer with a dispenser on top.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it must have been like a
They do.
5-gallon. I
Yeah.
bought like these 2 or 3 5-gallon hand. And the wife's like, why do you buy
Yeah.
these gargantuous things of bulk stuff? And I'm like, I bought it. I got a deal on it.
Yeah.
Relax. And then quarantine happens.
How about
Thank
that?
God you bought this bulk. They're
It
charging
became your hero.
$100. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. So, it's like, again, where was the blessing?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Was it 20 years ago with kind of like this mentality of
Yeah.
sticking of the persistence, and
Yeah.
even if I'm going to have a fallback,
Yep.
it's never going to be porn or weddings
That's
ever.
yeah.
I'm never going to do porn or weddings,
Yes. Yes.
but live streaming,
Yes.
live streaming of corporates and industrials,
Yes.
acting. I started delving into acting to fill in the schedule.
Wonderful.
Whatever kept me on set, or
Yeah.
whatever kind of like got me traveling with a
Yeah.
camera and
Yeah.
a live stream deck,
Uh-huh.
and that
Uh-huh.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then building at home studio and do like little passion projects. We failed at a podcast 3 times before,
Okay.
and now this seems to like start to pick up some steam. But I took advantage of this quarantine.
That's it. It's the right timing. You
Yeah.
know, those first couple of tries where you just getting things in place and getting familiar with it, you know, it's all preparation for where we are today, you
Yeah.
know, and you laid it out perfectly when you were talking about filmmaking and just like you said, the adjustments that you were talking about, they parallel to what we're going through in life right now.
Yeah.
They parallel, you know, almost exactly what you said. Absolutely.
And and you brought up a good point, and I think there's a lot of filmmakers out there that just aren't, I use the word visionary because they can't see out, they can't look outside the box. They can't
Yeah.
think outside or see
Mhm.
outside the box.
Mhm.
And they might have a great idea.
Yeah.
Let's take what's a good example? You know, let's take Star Wars for example.
Mhm.
George Lucas. Now, I'm not saying George Lucas, I'm not, but let's just say, for example,
Yeah.
George Lucas would have never wanted a female lead. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying he did. I'm just giving an example
Okay,
because
sure.
I don't want it to get out there like
Right,
I
right.
know something about George Lucas. I,
Right.
as far as I know, he's not sexist. He's a great guy. But let's
Yeah.
just say 20 years ago, I would never have a female Jedi or
Yeah.
female lead Jedi anyway. He
Yeah.
had a bunch of female Jedis, in that prequel trilogy. Um, Leia was always kind of like strong with the Force throughout the
Yeah.
whole series, even Queen
Okay.
Amidala in the prequel trilogy. But someone said, let's think outside the box, make a female lead Jedi.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, now I think there's a lot of filmmakers, a lot of producers, a lot of writers, directors that just won't budge on their script.
Yeah. That's
No,
right.
man, the quarantine just killed it. There's
Yeah.
no way
Yeah.
to film it, and
Yeah.
I'm like, there's a way to film it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's a way to film it.
Absolutely.
All those exteriors have to be interiors now, and
Yeah.
vice versa. All those interiors, exteriors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shoot the whole thing on like one of those rooftop decks with about 4 people. No
Yeah.
extras. No
Mhm.
extras. No extras. Like, well, you
Yeah.
don't need it. You don't need them. I'm like, just think. There's a lot of people that just won't budge
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
on
That's
their just their rock, their chiseled in stone script,
yeah.
and it's like, it's
Yeah.
not chiseled in stone,
That's
bro.
right. That's
No.
right. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if it's that important to you to have those values that you intended, then you'll have to wait, you know, until this is over, you know, to film your project, you know. But like you said, there's so much that can be done without having to wait. You know, you can be creative and change some things,
So
you
when
know,
you
but
say
it's hard for people.
when you say the values, you mean the creative values or
Creative values,
the
like you
story
said,
values?
well, saying like say for instance, you're saying about you know, they see their script a particular way, you know, and there are tons of values
Okay.
involved, you know, that they just
Okay.
won't budge on, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
So
yeah.
if you want it perfectly exactly how you imagined it,
Then you
then
have to wait.
you're gonna have to wait,
Yeah.
you know, that's all. The project just go on to something else in the
Sure.
meantime, you
Yeah.
know. But there are ways, as you say, you know, to be creative about how you film it, you know. It's just different in the way of how it may be filmed. And many times, as you know, I'm sure as a filmmaker, you may make those adjustments and feel like you're making a sacrifice, but then when you see the final product, it's like, wow, I didn't know it could look that good, or I didn't know it could come out that way, you
Well,
know.
hey, even better, you had
Yeah,
something that came out.
exactly, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of
You know,
directors that I've
yeah,
worked on
yeah,
that have still not finished their project because they want to do everything. They want to write, produce, direct, edit,
yeah,
and then edit.
yeah,
And they
yeah,
want to do the animations and the opening titles and the graphics. They want
yeah.
to do the After Effects and the CGI. And it's like, bro, you got to start passing this stuff off to other
That's right.
folks.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, plan and create from a place of where you want to be, right? So you look at Hollywood, you look at MGM or any of those larger, you know, production companies and so forth. Do they do that? Absolutely not. They have a team of people that they have brought in, they trust, they know that they know what they're doing, and they delegate, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of leadership. And a lot of times when you're moving from, you know, like you said, that pizza and beer budget, you know, that you try to do as much of it as you can, you know, you wear as many hats as you need to, as long as your project doesn't falter in quality, you know.
Right.
But as you start
Now
to
faltering
grow,
in quality, but then that's where the sacrifice, and then that's where you play with the vision of it being so low budget or
yeah,
so campy
yes,
because there's only you and me and one other guy or one other gal
yeah,
making this.
that's right,
We kind of make that be the thing.
that's right, that's right, yeah,
And that's like the overall vision as a
yeah,
visionary.
that's right,
Okay, no money, but here's the idea.
that's right,
It is a version of this really cheap kind of series that is
Yeah.
famous that people watch, and now we're kind of making our own version of it, but it's this version of that.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. And I mean, where did reality TV start? Right, where what
documentaries.
you're talking about, right? Someone had an
Yeah.
idea and said, hey, just let's put it on camera, turn
Yep.
on the camera and let's see where it goes, and it went places, not all great places, but nonetheless, we
But
now have
nonetheless, you can't argue with numbers.
you can't, you absolutely cannot,
Yeah.
so that we have to start being a little more flexible,
Hmm.
in life. And I think again, this COVID has come to teach us some lessons. And if we would sit back and
Well,
listen, we
oh,
get
go,
it.
go ahead. I heard there was like a big blast, but COVID
Oh,
taught us some lessons.
yeah. So we just have to sit back and listen to them, take heed to what we're being taught, and come, like you said, outside of this comfort zone that we are so comfortable in. We take life for granted in many ways, and so this helps us to see those things that we should not take for granted. As you say, with your son or daughter who's 6 months old, you're going to take the care, to do what you need to do in terms of all those transitions for the car seat and the mask and the sanitizer. You're going to go through those steps
Yeah.
because your son or daughter is worth it, right? So we have to see one another as being worth it. We have to see our projects as being worth it and do what we have to do, in the meantime. Again, this is not forever, and I mean,
Right.
I think even in the quality, going into, again, my background being professional actress for 30 plus years, is the fact of really having high quality talent. Sometimes that is non-union talent. Most times it's union talent. I'm a casting director for a production company, and for several of the projects, they were all non-union projects. And not a problem. Like you said, it's about getting the vision on film.
Yeah.
However, and kind of as aspiring toward higher ground, um, that was a conversation, that I thought needed to be had. And me being a SAG after actress myself, of course, I'm advocating for the professionals in the industry. If you're going to a certain place, then you want to travel with the people that will be there when you get there.
Right.
And it was funny the way that came about, because we had the discussions, and he was like, no, 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 we're doing good with this, we're doing good with the non-union talent. And I said, that's fine, not to say you couldn't have any. I said, but I do believe that, your projects, in terms of the level of higher quality, could be there with SAG after actors, being in those lead spots and so forth. So after having that conversation and him kind of saying, no, I think we're going to steer this way, the award season came about, SAG Awards, the Oscars and so forth. And so we were talking about, who won this thing, and that project was really good. And I said, did you see so and so? And we go back and forth. And I said, out of all of those people who won awards, were any of them non-union? And there were
Right.
crickets. Because if that's where you want to go, if you want to win awards for your cinematography and so forth, not on that level. Now, say, not to say there can't be anything on a non-union level. There can be. But if you're aspiring toward that, and that's where you feel like your vision is going, then you have to start making that transition at some point, And so he did. And the last project that we just filmed is a comedy series, and phenomenal jobs. It's only, 5 to 7 leads. But with this, it just turned the project upside down, and again, we had many non-unions on set, and we were able to get them to a point where now they're eligible. It's like, help the others rise up. Don't just stay down and everybody just be at the beginning level. Let's start to acquire some level, some advancement, and in doing so, then you have something to offer to those that are coming behind you, to say, hey, how about you sharpen up a little bit? When we're talking about the DMV area, one of the things that's really close to my heart is the fact that there are all these other areas that are hubs, right? New York is a hub, LA is a hub, New Orleans is a hub, Atlanta is a hub, and Wilmington. It's just so many different places that they are doing well in terms of their film industry, and music, any entertainment, venues and so forth, are all doing well. So why can't the DMV be that? Because we're not at that level, And when I say that, when I go to audition in New York, against people who do this every day, 5 and 6 auditions a day. If I'm only doing one a day or two a day, or, the casting director just knows me, is that going to compete with someone who's doing it 5 and 6 times a day? And taking acting classes like 3 times a week and those kinds of things, they're in the mix. And so we have to kind of bring our talent level up, the skill sets up so that we can compete. And if we do that, and then with filmmakers, combining and unifying our efforts so that those in front of the camera as well as those that are back of the camera are producing quality work, we can compete. We can become that next hub. Atlanta, I think it was 2019, it was something like $19 billion they made. Again, that's an economic driver, which
Yeah.
means now we have some voice politically, for incentives and so forth that we've lost, in our area. Especially, we took a hard hit with 9/11, Department of Homeland Security, there's a lot of places you have to get permits for, it's so difficult to film in our area, more so than it used to be.
Right.
And so that's one way that we took a hit. But we can be creative on the other side of that and just bring, up our game so that we can compete with these other markets.
Yeah. And yeah, it's tricky. I mean, we lost, well, for a number of reasons, we lost House of Cards, but we lost Veep
Yes,
and all these other shows, kind of leaving out because Maryland was not they changed it because I think Maryland kind of got a little greedy as far as the tax incentives. And
that's right. They
so,
lessened them so that, what is a filmmaker, a big house, a production house, what are they going to do if they're being offered all these wonderful incentives in Atlanta, and then they are trying to come here because it's ideal,
mhm,
and they say, oh, well, you don't have any tax incentives, then I'm not filming there. I can just go and get a lot somewhere and do some facades,
mhm,
for the exterior shots, or I'll just film my exterior shots. That's more often what happens. They come here, they film their exterior shots, they bring their leads, if talking in front of the camera, from LA and from New York to film here when we've got talent right here
mhm.
that can play those lead parts, right? But they come here, they do their facades, they hire all the extras in our area, and then they go back. So what does that really do for our area? It's not an economic driver for sure.
Right.
you know so we've got to get together in our community, of the creative community, and pull together a camp of people who really are dedicated to some quality, excellent work, and that can compete, with those other markets. We have to do that.
Which leads me to my next point. Have you been back on set yet?
Oh yeah, actually, I just finished. I was with AARP last week. I was doing some on-camera narration for them last week, and just finished something with Kaiser Permanente yesterday. So it's wonderful being back on set. There was a while there that you get a little antsy because it's like, okay, I want to be, and of course we're doing these Zooms and different projects on our own. But I was ready definitely to get back in front of the camera for sure. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. That's fantastic. Cause yeah, like, I mean, I'm real cautious again, me and the wife, we have a 6 month. So
That's good.
I think also when you're saying when we were talking about visionaries, you also kind of have to make strict requirements of yourself, and
Absolutely.
you have to make like making sacrifices. And I
Yeah,
decided I'm not going to go back on set until there's a vaccine,
that's right. Sure.
except if it's some stuff around here in this area. If I lucked out and got that Kaiser or I got the AARP and it was a decent rate and decent exposure with that project, I would take that, but it probably within the state or within the tri-state.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I would still look more closely at some of the logistics behind the production, but
Definitely.
I'm not I'm
I can applaud them. Those that have been working with in this last couple of months, they have taken the precautions, definitely. Of course, the mask, if you're indoors in their studios, everyone has on the mask. It's kind of a skeleton crew.
mhm,
It's not,
yep,
all the people that they usually have. So that's helpful. They have the sanitizer, they have the 6 feet apart, all those things that should be in place,
mhm,
they have in place, and it's all to kind of make sure that they're facilitating their workload, because they need this stuff to, say, for instance, the project that I was on yesterday, there's an announcement to a certain demographic of their membership. the information, they're going to lose on a certain benefit at the end of the year. They have to re-enroll and all this stuff. So these are instructions that they need to put out. And yeah, they could send it through a newsletter, but is everyone going to read it? You know what I mean? And if they don't, what happens? You know, it's still backlog on you. So doing it through video and, you know, those types of things, of course, we're visual creatures.
Yeah.
So we, you know, that's what comes to us most quickly. So they have to get their workload done, and I mean, I'm happy about that. But I think it's most effective. But I so respect your values, you know, and saying family first, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm going to make sure to do this the right way, and you'll be blessed for that. You know, you're not going to lose out on anything.
But like you said, blessed, and I was blessed that I had the hindsight to build, you know, like a live stream studio and
Yeah.
a voiceover studio and
Mhm.
a self submit thing. I also built like, you know, self submit screens here and a green screen, and so I'm able to edit remotely, live stream remotely here. You know, there's a lot of technical things I can do from home. So I don't necessarily, I'm not dying to drive.
Right.
I'm not starving to
Yeah.
drive to New York for an acting gig,
Yes.
depending on the level of it, maybe.
Right.
But
Right. Of course. Of
but
course.
I'm also a compliance officer, certified compliance officer. So, you know, that I would do, but
Yeah.
still I'm not willing to fly. And I've got all these little rigid
That's right.
little rules. So
I think we all have to.
I'm only willing to fly for military.
Yeah.
But then as a CCO, I'm willing to drive to New York, 8-hour drive, 10-hour drive, if that's covered by production,
Yeah.
and then be a CCO on set, because
Yeah.
I know I can be so strict and so
Yeah.
rigid and
Yeah.
make sure this set is as safe as humanly possible.
Yes.
And I'll
Yes.
kick people off, and I'll be on people's butts about mask, nose and mouth, nose and mouth, nose,
Yeah.
you know, all that crazy stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
But then, you know, as far as, you know, like ADing or production managing or producing or directing or whatever it is on set, it would have to be like maybe at the most like a 25-minute commute from my house or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Like all
Yeah.
these little rigid, and that's just right now, like you said, it's just temporary.
Yeah, that's right. That's
But
right.
what,
And I think, you know, we're making adjustments as we go along. You know, the predictions from the beginning were that, you know, we would see this wave and then it would go down over the summer and then it would rise up again, or we'd have a second wave in the fall. And they're seeing exactly that because people have not adhered to all of the restrictions and so forth, temporary restrictions, you know.
mhm,
So I anticipate, not saying I want to anticipate that, but I anticipate that what they said is true. You know, we're going to go back in and we're all going to be back indoors again. The great thing about the summer is that, you know, you could be outside, you could be in a park, you know, where your blanket was 10 feet from the other blanket and things like that. And certain people felt safe doing that, you know, because they were outside. But of course, you know, in our area it gets cold, you know, and so when it gets cold, people come back inside, and then flu season and cold and all of that starts again, which is just exacerbating, you know, the COVID and what comes in it. I actually, about a month, actually today is the 2 month mark. One of my sisters from school, one of the society that I'm a part of it, from Howard, she's a singer, and or was a singer, and she came down with pneumonia, and the pneumonia took her into the hospital where it was also discovered she had COVID and lost
mm,
her life 2 months ago, you
oh
know.
man,
So with that, you just have to be extra careful, you know.
absolutely,
And again, having had it myself, again, we were not affected as much as many people are, and that in itself is miraculous. You know, my husband, he had it pretty bad, you know, in there, and it was scary, you know, to face that okay, this could be it, you know, this could be it, he could be gone, you know. And I was so, it just, again, it helps you to refocus and evaluate what's really important, prioritize in life those things that are important, and you start to put those things in place. As you say, you know, it's your personal compliance to life, right? I'm not doing this, I am doing this, you know. I'm comfortable doing that, I'm not comfortable doing that, and that's okay. I think everyone should be given that freedom, you know, to make those decisions for themselves, but like you say, not affecting other people. You know, if we're out, we just need to have that common courtesy. But I so respect your decision,
yeah.
you know, to just take it easy, because right now you have, again, other skills, talents, and skills, gifts, talents, and skill sets that can be put to work. And those are opportunities that, once this goes away or whatever, you can get back into the acting, but then you have this going full steam,
Yeah.
while you're doing your acting. So it's a blessing in disguise.
Because, 2 years from now, with the way technology has advanced so quickly for
Yeah,
COVID, for people to deal with COVID,
that's right.
that hell, I could be acting on a film, and if I've got like a 2-3 hour lunch break, I could pull out Zoom and I could
There you go.
continue
You're
like
editing.
continue
Yeah.
the podcast on like this little side
Yep.
kind of thing, like a BTS, or
Yep.
kind of like the travels and journeys of an actor, and
Right.
all these kind of different little web series, or continue the podcast and just
Yeah.
involve maybe a select 5 or 10 folks that I would call at different times on Zoom, record the call,
Yeah.
with a laptop or an iPhone or both,
Yeah.
kind of, because that's how I got this set up. I'm signed in on 2 different accounts, and I'm like recording one and I'm streaming another, and you're the third one on the Zoom call, and that's how you're the guest. And there's all these different tricks and things of that nature. And then taking what we've done and taking this knowledge, because like I said, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I was somehow blessed or had some sort of hindsight,
Yeah.
or now I'm blessed because I had that preparation and
Yeah.
hindsight, or it's like a little
Absolutely.
bit of a blessing, then a little bit of blessing. And
Yeah.
like I sometimes I try to reflect and figure out, when that was, but there was always this determination. Hey, if I'm going to have a fallback,
That's right.
that fallback's still going to remain within
In the
film,
entertainment
TV,
world.
audio, video, some sort of entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I think we have so much in common in that way, because as I said, I've really, and I know we've just been overusing this word blessed, but that's all I can call it.
Yeah.
That I've been able to, yes, I'm a professional actress, I'm a professional vocalist, and I've been very blessed in those areas to be able to do what I do professionally. But at a certain time, when there are lulls here and there, then I start my writing again, or someone asked me to come and do some training, or I'm in doing media training with someone or whatever. And it's just like, all, like you said, these little things that can fit in between, and it's become an entire company, that we've now had to build out with staff.
Right.
It at one time was just me, just kind of, I can wear this hat and I can wear that hat. But why not spread the blessing, to other people? There are other creatives that are looking to get involved in the industry in a professional way, or they need to learn, and in that way we can exchange. I may need help in a particular area, and maybe I have that person come on as an intern, and they are helping me while I'm helping them gain the experience, and therefore you're able to kind of create those allies, because those people one day will be someone, we want them to be someone. And so when they're in that place, we want to be able to partner on projects, and do things. So I think when we have, like you say, a visionary point of view of this whole, thing we call entertainment and how we use it, we can actually do pretty good if we'll just sit back and, again, let life teach us that stuff. But meanwhile, keep our standards and our values in the forefront, to know what's important and how to balance that.
Exactly. I mean, and then again, what's entertaining to somebody? I mean, I know 50-year-olds that love anime.
Okay.
They still watch anime, and
Yeah.
they watch all the new anime that comes out.
Yes.
I
Yes.
know, I know 10-year-olds that love the MCU movies and the
Yeah.
DCU movies, and
Mhm.
aren't they a little bit young? Well, the parents are cool with it. And
Hey.
some of the Captain America movies are pretty hard, pretty hardcore,
Yeah.
like a medium PG-13,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
but
right.
hey, they're on Disney Plus, and
That's right.
so what is entertaining to somebody? And there's so many different universes, so many different tastes, and I don't know. I kind of lost where I was going with that, but like what? But what
Happens
is?
to the best of us.
Yeah, but what's entertaining to somebody? And then and there's always. Well, I think where I was leading to was there's always something that somebody's going to want to watch.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
People are interested in podcasts, and they'll play YouTube, and this podcast is not only on YouTube, it's on Anchor. So they'll just listen to Anchor. They'll listen to my podcast on Anchor while they're driving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they'll play YouTube in the background and listen to the podcast.
That's right.
While they're, cleaning up, doing chores around the house or whatever the case may be.
Sure, sure.
Um, and it's, my brother's only interested in my roundtables of podcast.
Okay.
Sometimes he'll listen to these episodes where I have a different guest on, but then my roundtables is me and my two colleagues, and
Okay.
we'll do a roundtable like every week or every 2 weeks, and
Okay.
he only listens to that because it's a little bit more adult. It's more,
Yeah.
we were discussing offline, how do we, what's the language we're looking for, PG-13, and
Yeah.
you said, like, that's good, but it's definitely R-rated when I have my roundtables, and
Yeah.
we get excited, and
Yeah.
by the time we finally get around to linking up and shooting those roundtables, we're a few beers into it or a few cocktails into it, and we're a little bit more, amped up and relaxed and amped
Right.
up, and like,
Yeah.
like arguing about something, or a heated discussion about something else. But
Right.
the specific episodes of this podcast, but this podcast is on my YouTube channel that has other things.
Got
Someone
it.
else might not be interested in this podcast, but they're interested in the Marvel and the DC web series that I
Right.
have.
Mm-hmm.
Or some people are, or I got, maybe one or two family members that are interested in the other web series that is just kind of like a docu-series web series on, my gigs and my travels, and
Yeah.
family life, and there's 4 drastically different things just
Yeah.
on my one channel.
Yeah.
So what entertains somebody? There's always somebody that's out there that's interested in something else, or
That's right.
interested in what you got. But there's I don't even know where I was going with that, but
Well, I know what you're saying though is the relativity. I believe that
yeah.
that's in terms of just art itself. We are drawn to the art that relates to us. And like you mentioned, your family members are more interested in those pieces that talk about you as an actor and what's going on with the family and those kinds of things. That's because it's relative to them. Someone else, like you said, may come to the podcast because they're like, who's on this week? So it just is what's relative. But the hope is that you create so much content that you're drawing, that person may come for one thing and then they're able to be entertained by another. And again, for us, it's all about really strategy, toward, yes, the draw, but once we have them, creating an experience for them that they leave impacted, that something in them questions, who am I today and how can I be better, or what is going on in my community and how can I help, what's going on. So we're really focused, very, very intentionally focused, very deliberate about the type of work, that we do. And even as we work with other people, bringing out, it's funny because I just did a media training with an executive from one of the government agencies. And she was, I think, taken aback by our approach, because we are really holistic in the way that we work with people. When we're coaching, we're generally just in and out. We're coming in, we're going to tell you what you need to do, and that's that. But when I do training, which is, they're two different things. But when I'm training, I'm looking at the whole person. Like what overall does this person need, spirit, soul, and body, and then art as well, that will create for them long lasting, success in whatever area that they're going in. So if it's a singer or an actor or someone who just is a public speaker that wants to speak in a more professional way, or wants their message to be taken more seriously or whatever, being comfortable in front of the camera. If I'm instructing them, then I'm going behind the curtain. You know what I mean? If it's coaching, yeah, we'll stay right in front of the curtain, and we'll just do what you need to do for the moment. But I love instruction. There's a proverb that talks about, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. But if you teach him to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime, So I look at coaching as being, giving someone a fish. I'm going to tell you how to make this song sound better here in the studio, so that your recording comes out great. Yep. However, that person can't recreate that on the outside, so when they go do a live performance somewhere, it falls apart and they wonder why, because they didn't get that behind the scenes, deep down. It's like almost like a massage. You go in for a massage, you can get a regular massage or you can get a deep tissue. When you do a regular massage, yeah, it's going to feel great while you're there. but a day or two
It's
later
just on the surface.
hurting again. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just surface, you know. But if you get that deep tissue and they work all those knots out, it hurts like the dickens while you're going through it. But those things are gone, you know, so you don't have to worry about them anymore. So when I think about training or coaching, you know, that's kind of the way that's the perspective I go in with, is that if I'm training someone, then I want to get to the guts of who that person really is. In fact, for our media training, everyone receives an intake. And again, so many people getting taken aback by it. But the title of it is I am ... in their name. Because many times we don't even think about who we are. We're just who we are. We just go through life, you know.
Yeah.
Other people know who we are, but we don't seem to sit back and reflect on who we are. So that I am ... in your name, that in itself as a title, before you even get started answering any of the questions, it puts a person in a place of saying, I have to evaluate myself. I have to see where I am with this, you know, and beyond this. And so as we work and, you know, get to what their goals are and aspirations, how they want to succeed, then it's an easier track, because we understand, you know, what's really behind them not doing so well in front of a large crowd. You know, it may be a fear from when they were in second grade, you know, and they were before maybe singing a solo in the play at school, and the teacher said, oh, I will never have you do that again, you know, maybe because you froze, you know, or whatever. But that experience could stay with you for 50 years. You know, I've had some people to come in for vocal training that are like 56 and 60. And I'm like, wow, you know, I'm really proud of you for standing up to do this. And they're like, yeah, I wanted to do it all my life. And, you know, I just, back in fourth grade, you know, I failed at this, that, or the other. And, you know, I've from that, it was like a fear of getting back in the saddle with it, you know, and it really shouldn't be that way, you know, but those things happen to us as kids, and we're very impressionable as kids. That's what I think, you know, we can see our children as being very resilient, and they are. But there are certain things that they hold on to. So we also must be very careful in what we pour into them through our words and our activities and so forth. And even, you know, you were talking earlier about in the 50s, you know, how they must have, you just said, hey, just get in the back seat and hold the baby, you know, instead of, you know, the car seats and everything that we have today. But I truly believe, even in the evolution of time, and we've come to this where we have to take such care, you know, for the infants, and such care for the children. They have to be in booster seats until they're a certain weight, you know, I think it's 85 pounds or something in Maryland. So those kinds of things, but the community has grown to a place where we're taking care of those things. But what we get as residual benefit is the fact that we as parents are now closer to our children. We have interaction with them, you know, there's a bond that maybe would not be there without that, you know. So taking those things, I know we're kind of going around the bend here, but taking those things into consideration when we become adults, you know, and we have held on to these things that we don't even know are there anymore. They're in our subconscious, you know, and they're preventing us from doing all that we're called to do, you know, our full potential. You know, those are the things that we go after. We want to dig behind there, and really we want you to outdo yourself, you know. You know, come to us in one fashion and think you're going to go to a certain level and like supersede that, go way beyond that, you know. Because how do we see that? We see that when we do the training and we're digging behind those things, you know. But, you know, if you just want the project for the moment, we do that too.
Yeah. Well, you know, you raised a great point, is that the residual is enjoying what you do, loving what you do, the process, the journey. A great example. Well, I want to talk about this show also, because that's what this show was about. But me and a number of previous guests, you know, filmmakers, actors, we've always talked about, like, we're not millionaires, we're not billionaires, you know. I don't think any guest I've had on this show is yet. Okay.
Not yet.
Of course.
We're on our way.
But I mean, I'm pretty sure, you know, myself, none of my guests and none of me are at that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson level,
right,
or that Tom Cruise level yet.
Yeah.
You know, but the residual is the enjoyment of what we do.
That's right.
You know, there's so many people that have never even made it on TV.
That's right.
Or never even got their film finished or
That's
cut
right.
or even
Yeah.
put on YouTube, nonetheless, a film festival or, some kind of shorts night. And I'm still kind of confused to this day because I'm trying to reach out and figure it out, but I don't even think there's a TV guide anymore. But
I don't
I,
think so. I've looked for it myself, and I think because so many of these formats,
I
Netflix, Hulu, whatever apps that you have,
yeah,
they all have their own.
I think I think TV Guide still has a website maybe, but
Okay.
back in 2010, I submitted this short film slash music video I did called Something Wicked with a couple of colleagues. We were kind of going with that thriller route where it was like a short film with a music video in the center, but then you can extract the music video and just have that music video, right? But Thriller was really a 15-minute short, and then
Yes,
there
it
was the
was.
music video, and then there
That's
was an
right.
ending.
That's right.
And so we did something along those lines, and I submitted to something, and apparently, like I went out for Halloween, had beers, went out partying with friends, and I got an email that it aired on Spike on
Oh,
Halloween night with like a bunch of horror shorts. And then
wow.
and then I was like, can I get a recording? Can I get some sort of thing? And they were like, we'll get back to you. And I don't know.
Did you submit for that?
This
You
was
submitted for
well,
that?
this was 10 years ago, but I don't even know where I submitted it to,
Yeah, it's been so long.
because then I got something from TV Guide. But then it was on TV Guide's website. Because
Okay.
even in 2010, I don't even think there was an actual physical TV Guide, or maybe there was, but now it's 2020, and so to the best of my knowledge, it aired on Spike for 10. It was a 10-minute thing. It aired
Wow.
for 10 minutes in
Yeah.
like a play of shorts
That's right. Sure.
that I
Sure.
think they did for Halloween or something, and then
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
But
And I
but it
wonder why networks don't do more of that.
uh,
Maybe not the majors, but some of these that are coming up, it just seems, there's so much talent. There are so many filmmakers with so much great vision
yeah,
that I wonder, why they don't use that, these networks to their advantage.
and that's
If
something
you
that's
submit to them and they're regularly played, like every Saturday evening at 6 o'clock, you'll from 6 to 6:30 there are three shorts, or something where they're giving people a chance at exposure, but at the
exactly.
same time, in the midst of that, they may find some really great talent, that they could help to expose further.
Do you remember Billy Bob? No, Joe Bob Briggs. Remember Joe Bob Briggs' Monster Vision?
Yeah, yeah.
He always had a big cowboy hat. He knew and then Elvira,
Yes, yes, yep,
Mistress of the Dark. But they would like host a
yeah,
special night where they showed a film.
right.
Now, I don't know if they ever had a short film series that they would host the short film series, but they
Yeah,
would always have a night, and I and it was always on like a local station, or I think if it was an affiliate, they sent it to like the local stations.
yeah,
They would shoot something, and then they would send it out to like the 50. Remember 54? Remember
yeah,
50 and Fox 45, and they would always
yeah,
have Monster Theater, and then at 8 they would have Joe Bob Briggs Monster Vision, or they would have,
yeah.
oh no, Joe Bob Briggs Drive-In,
Drive-in, yeah, the
and
drive-in, that's right.
yeah,
Yeah,
and then it was Elvira's Mistress of the Dark
uh-huh,
Monster Theater or something like that.
right, right.
But
But it just seems, it's not to say that they don't have programming, they obviously do. But it just seems to me, again, that reaching back to help the next person
yeah,
would what would it hurt them? I don't care if it was 1:30 in the morning,
yeah,
1:30 to 2 o'clock in the morning, but now that person can use that and say, hey, my project was on so and so network,
hmm
and from that build upon that, with the
hmm
experience, it
yeah,
just to be
and
great.
and sh- and yeah, and Shutter brought back Joe Bob Briggs. I think it's Joe Bob Briggs Driving on Shutter, and it
Okay.
and so of course you can watch any movie you want on Shutter, but
Yeah.
then on Joe Bob Briggs, he's there kind of talking about it, and
Yeah.
he'll talk about behind the scenes drama, and the budget and what they were able to pull off with next to nothing, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Really cool like aspects about the film and making the film.
Hmm.
But I always thought, okay, Spike did it, and I'm pretty sure it was Spike that had this series of shorts, and apparently they aired it. Now they should have always stuck with it. I mean, and that's right up MTV's alley.
Yeah, why not?
Like Halloween
Exactly.
night.
It's something, and I think there are these where they run the shows, the TNTs and TBS and those kind of channels that they run a movie and they have maybe a guest celebrities that are hosting it, and so in between, kind of as commercials, they'll comment on certain aspects of the film and so
Hmm.
forth. That's as close to it in mainstream that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But it just seems, of course, you go to film festivals, you see that all the time. They have the shorts that are playing and playing and playing, but why not connect that, to having that viewed on television? That would be great.
Why not? I mean, Shutter, I think Shutter kind of does this now, but why not have, so Netflix has kind of channels or at least categories, and
Yeah.
Shutter could have a category, Hulu could have a category, just shorts.
Yeah,
And if
absolutely.
that short's getting hit, it
That's right.
stays. If it's not
Exactly.
getting hit, it gets, sent to like maybe bottom of the line.
Right.
But if
Yeah,
it's getting blown up,
classifications, you have an A classification, a B
yeah,
classification, a C classification, and like you said, as they get hits, they're rising up, to the A level,
absolutely,
Yeah, yep.
something outside the box. But
Great talent.
but um, but but to kind of come back around to my point is like at the end of the day, the residual is I did it. I'm not at that Tom Cruise, Dwayne the Rock Johnson level, but
Yep.
I'm on TV. I can
Yeah,
go on demand right now and pull up 40 episodes where I was a detective in,
yeah, yeah.
or I'm on this commercial, and my wife, I think, finally stopped getting texts from people who were seeing it. But for 2 years,
Yeah,
she would get a text from some random person. I just saw the commercial again. I
yeah,
just saw the
yeah,
commercial again with me as a plumber.
yeah.
And then there was like this Toyota, there was like this regional Toyota spot I did all winter
Okay,
that was aired all winter on all the digital platforms,
okay.
and a bunch of people saw that. But it's like 20 years from now, I could tell the kid, like, listen, I wasn't, maybe I wasn't in the theater, but I was on cable a lot.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can check out my stuff here, blah 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 blah. And that's kind of like the residual, is
yeah,
that I just loved doing what I did, and
yeah,
I still love what I'm doing,
yeah.
and the content's out there. It's
Yes,
the content is reachable and watchable,
yes.
and having some posters up on the wall, like I was in this thing and I was in that thing, and maybe the star, maybe the supporting,
Yeah.
and and
Hey, why
and
not?
and that's kind of residual. It's like great stories, some pride,
Yes.
and some satisfaction in life, quality of life, quality.
Absolutely.
And now it's like I was slick enough to be able to do what I'm doing here from home,
Yeah,
hands on with the kid nonstop, and
yeah,
it's not like an absentee type father type
right.
deal.
Absolutely. Yes.
But there's a show on Netflix called Away with Hilary Swank,
Yeah.
which is about the journey. It's not about the destination. It's all
Mhm.
about the journey, what these folks are doing. It's an incredible show. She plays an astronaut. She's in a team of 5 astronauts that are going to be the first astronauts on Mars, but it's about, the family that they left behind. It's called Away. So it's about them
Okay.
being away and
Wait.
going away. But,
Okay.
like at the end of the show, I don't want to spoil too much, but the wife said, I hope there's a second season so we can see what happens now. And I don't want to spoil too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to see what happens now. And I'm like, I don't think there should be. It was
Yeah.
about the journey.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was it was so the last episode was so powerful, so
Yeah.
emotional, you know, so extraordinary because it was about the journey.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
second the journey was over, and the second they get to a destination, let's say, because again, I don't want to spoil too much,
Right. Right.
but let's
Sure.
just say they get to a certain destination. That's it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not what it's about. It's
Yeah.
about the
That's right.
journey.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
definitely worth the watch. I don't know if you've seen it yet,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I haven't seen it yet, so I'm glad you didn't spoil it.
but is there something you've been watching that's been like an escape, or kind of just edutainment or inspiring, or really kind of an escape during this time?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, more recently, I haven't had the time, which
Hmm.
is kind of a good problem to have.
Hmm.
But at the time I did have a little bit of time was at the time my husband was home recovering. So we watched what he wanted to watch for the most part, but he kind of got me hooked on this series called Shy.
Okay.
And I'd never heard of it before. I know that Shy is short for Chicago, but I never
Oh,
heard
Shy.
of it. I've heard a number of actors talk about it, wanting to get on it and stuff. but I hadn't really looked into it, or what it was about. But while he was recovering, that's kind of what we did do, kind of, I don't want to say binge watching, because it was kind of once a week, but it kind of held you into the next week. It kind of made me feel like what soap operas did to me when I was younger.
Hmm.
When I was in high school, it was kind of like, what's going to happen next week?
One Life to Live, Days of
Yeah,
Our
One Life to
Lives.
Live.
Yeah.
Yeah, General Hospital, all that
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
So, it took me back to that time where we did have kind of episodic television, that was week to week, as opposed to being able to watch it anytime we want on demand.
Yeah.
There's some value to that, having to wait until next week,
Yeah.
and retelling the story in your head to recall what it was that happened last week. Life goes so fast now, with social media and all the web. And this, we're just in a communication age, and there's so much communication coming from everywhere. And I find myself like, okay, what did I have for dinner yesterday? Or did I eat dinner yesterday?
Yeah.
Because there's so much going on. There's so much information coming in. So I love that, the fact that we were watching something, and then the following week we had to kind of wait for a week until the next episode. I love that. That was like taking me back to Brady Bunch days.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I loved it. Yeah, but that's kind of the only thing that I could say that was anything recurring, other than the news, of course. But outside of that, not much.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the news. We just gotta wait for November.
Yes, yes, yes,
Big
yes.
changes in November. Big changes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in the midst of it, here we go again with this whole thing that the blessings in the journey, right?
Yeah.
This whole time, it is such a galvanizing opportunity for just all of humanity seems to be coming together. And that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Again, the good out of the bad, what was intended to be bad, but look at what it's doing. It's drawing people's hearts together and minds together that would not have even thought about, talking to each other, or having a particular conversation. It's bringing people together, so it's a good thing overall. It's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you've been back on set, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And what's next on the agenda for Carlyncia?
Yes.
Oh man, I'm like a name expert. Viag Studios,
Yeah.
Carlyncia PECK. What's next on the agenda? Say
What's
6 months to a
brewing?
year from now.
Yeah, what's brewing? We actually are in the midst. We had been in the midst of doing some strategic planning, toward kind of where are we propelling ourselves for 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and we had a conference that was to happen in April of this year. So we were getting ready to just head into our heavy advertising for that when COVID hit. And not when it hit, but actually when we had to close our doors to the studio. So when that happened, we had to kind of change again, make some adjustments to our plans. But in the midst of it, it's allowed us to do some really, really creative things. We've had some Instagram lives all through from like February through like the end of August. Every week we would have a guest on that really brought some really, really substantial content, things that people could use in terms of healthcare professionals, mental health professionals. We had some creatives, that were on that were just in some really unique planning stages in their work. And it was so many people. I mean, it's on our Instagram, but we, in changing it around, our plans grew, so we are going to have the conference in person. We're hoping to do so April of next year, if things are where they need to be. That's what we're planning for now. So our planning team is just incredible. We have some really, really dedicated, like-minded people, that really work well together. And that's a blessing in itself. I'm kind of outside the loop right now, like while they're planning. They're going to present to me at the end of October and make any adjustments before we really head in to pushing toward that. It's a creative conference, so it's for creative people. And so that's on the event planning side. Media production team is actually working on a lot of in-house promo materials, and we are partnering with several different people in the filmmaking area to create kind of a conglomerate, if you will, kind of becoming that hub again, so that we can actually galvanize our opportunities through bringing our gifts together. So that's a really good thing. Viag. I myself am getting ready to start a training. I'm actually in a training right now I'm always trying to get more knowledge. I'm just that's the teacher in me that always has to draw the knowledge in so that I have it to give out. So I'm actually doing a lot of professional development myself within now, probably and through just before Thanksgiving. It really starts headstrong in October, so that I'll be kind of delving into that for myself, and then continuing to work and so forth and train people via the internet and all. What else? Boy, oh boy. Our nonprofit side. We have a nonprofit side called Artistic Empowerment Centers. So Viag Entertainment Services is more so, the business of entertainment. And then we use entertainment for the community on the artistic empowerment side. So we empower the underserved and underrepresented areas through the arts. So any way that we can do that through the arts. And so our focus right now for this quarter is actually civic engagement. And so we knew this. We didn't know all of what was going to happen. Of course, back this time last year, we were planning for this year, but we had this campaign already laid out. And so we've had to make adjustments. It's now virtual, but we're planning to have, like, we're filming tonight, actually, Family Feud, the Civic Engagement Edition. So it's going to be a digital Family Feud that we're going to be posting, and therefore helping people to learn, where do I go if I see this sign that says, vote yes on question 2, what am I voting for? So we're sending out, like, social media and all, to help people find the links, where do I register to vote, and all those kinds of things, to help, give them resources to help them get involved and engaged in the process. But doing it with a little fun, by way of playing the Family Feud game tonight. And so, the guests will be asked questions like, what are the 3 branches of government? Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And it's having fun, but it's also learning in the process and exposing the opportunity to others, to learn as well.
Yeah.
So, kind of galvanizing that support toward the voting. We have to vote this year. This is not an option.
Yeah.
Not an option.
and I'm so glad that, what's, the government services, those that are being upfront and honest about a number of things, they're pushing that mail-in ballot.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
They're pushing that absentee ballot because personally, I don't think it's a sabotage towards anybody.
Right.
But they're pushing that knowledge. And now a lot of people now are thinking like, oh, they're only pushing it now because of whoever's in office or whoever's trying to get in office. And it's like, no. First off, they're giving us a new opportunity. Obviously, why COVID?
Yeah.
But then secondly, they're pushing this absentee ballot. They're pushing that, but that's always been available.
Yeah, it's always been available. Exactly. Yeah. And like you said, COVID, yet another thing that has been a blessing out of COVID, right? It happens to happen right now when the general election is getting ready to take place,
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it's something to be suspect about. I mean, my dad and stepmother, she's Swedish. They married years ago, but then they retired and moved to Sweden like 2012 or 2013 or something like that. And they expatted and retired and moved to Sweden for good.
Okay.
Permanently, if not for the most part permanently, depending on, who knows what might happen with health. But I don't think any of them want to come back right now.
That's right.
But they've still had that absentee ballot since they've been gone. They've been voting via absentee ballot.
Yeah.
And so I know that it's been around for a while. So people are like, all of a sudden there's an absentee ballot. I'm like, no, I think that's been a thing for decades.
Yes.
If not centuries, maybe not centuries. You had to go out and you had to like vote in blood on a parchment paper back, a century ago. But I think the absentee ballot's been around for, at least 50 years.
And the fact is, these people who may be suspect about it, I know in Maryland, you have to apply to get a ballot.
Yeah, you have to apply.
And a lot of people are not understanding that. They're thinking that that's the ballot, that they get in the mail. No, that's the mail. That's for you to get, that's the application for them to send you the ballot, right?
Yeah.
But then after that, if you are still suspect, fill in your ballot and take it to your board of elections. They're going to have drop boxes and things. And so you can drop it off yourself and be your own postmaster, getting your ballot there. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, definitely. I think we've had, a unique 2016 to 2020, and
Oh
I
yeah.
think it's time for a nice change again.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe so. We've got to, the darkness only lasts for so long. The night is for a while, and then the morning comes, and we
And then
can
the
all
morning
start
comes.
again. Yeah, the morning always comes after that.
Hey, look, there was a great poem slash short story that somebody wrote. And I was supposed to make a short film about it, and we're still working on that. But I'll put it on the podcast, and it can be maybe a pitch.
Sure.
But it's about a kid, maybe 10, 12 years old. He's afraid of the dark, and he's going to bed. And so, he's laying in bed, and it's pitch black in his room. And then, as his eyes start adjusting to the dark, he can see the light coming from under the door,
Mm,
and then he can see the glow of the nightlight just getting
yeah,
brighter and brighter. And as his eyes are starting to adjust to the dark, the light starts to creep in and get brighter and get brighter and get brighter.
yeah.
And then the next thing you know is it's dawn.
How about that?
Night's over, it's
Yeah,
dawn, sunlight's coming through the windows, and it's morning again. So
yeah.
even through the darkness,
That's right. That's
there's
right.
light. And if you start to sit there and reflect and meditate,
Yeah,
calm down, push
yeah,
that anxiety out,
yeah.
that light will start to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow.
That's right. Because that's where your focus is.
If you start to you
You
start
start to
to
focus on the darkness, then you'll stay trapped in it,
mhm,
but like you said, you have to look for, number one, those glimmers of light, and then where you find them, you need to focus more of your attention there than on the darkness. And when you do that, then it illuminates life for you, and then you come to know, as you say, the dawn is coming. And when that
mhm,
dawn starts to appear, the darkness is dispelled altogether. There's no more.
yeah,
When you turn on a light in the room, all the darkness goes away. And so we have to be that light, and that's what life is about for us, is just becoming that light, to people in the darkness.
but even more so, you're in that dark. It's kind of not, I'm not saying necessarily accepting and just dealing with bad
Yes,
and
exactly.
darkness and evil,
Mhm.
but it is building resilience within yourself,
That's right. Yeah.
calming your and accepting maybe a temporary acceptance of what's around you, but not letting that darkness flood you,
That's right.
and calming down. And then see, when your body adjusts from light to dark,
Hmm.
you start getting that night vision, whatever it's called. Then you start to see things in the dark,
Yes.
and then that light starts to grow and grow and grow and become bright. So
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think that's resilience or something like that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. But the best way to live life, so we don't succumb to those things. One of the professionals, mental health professionals, that what you just said, as far as focusing on those things that we do have, or those things that we are able to do, that focus to the light in the situation is most times what gets us through it. We succumb when we do the other thing, when we focus on what we don't have, and what they're not allowing us to do, and those kinds of things, and it just traps you in such bondage.
Hmm.
So it's just really great.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your view of the new normal?
Feel the new normal. I'm excited about it. We're seeing it be born, through this COVID process, and again, all of what's awakening on the inside of us. The potential is exponential. We don't know how far we can go, in ourselves, but we also don't know how far society can go when we all tap into that, with the reevaluation of our values and morals, and those things again that we're prioritizing as our things that are important to us. It's going to bring about, not to say Pleasantville, we won't go all the way back to that. But there's going to be some standard of living again, a quality of standard of living, where we will put those things into proper priority. Even as I think about, my I have 5 grandsons, and my daughter, they're all hers, so she's got 4 out of the 5 that are homeschooling, with COVID. And so she's just like biting at the bit, any free moment she gets, it's like, okay, I need to sleep, I need to eat, but it's just trying to keep all of those Zooms going, and which teacher is going here and there. so much is being developed on the inside of her, that she's not even aware of, that when COVID is over or when the kids do go back into the classroom, she's going to say, wow, I've developed all of these administrative skills or time management skills or whatever it is that's being developed in the midst of it. So I believe the new normal is going to be, I think we're already in it, number one.
Yeah.
But as we grow, to learn more about what this new normal looks like, I think we're going to see better people, and because as a result, we're going to see better society. We're going to see better community. And again, even through some of these things that are trials right now, the tribulations that we're enduring, the sufferings, if you will, those things are creating better people, and it's funny because when we become better people, then those coming behind us have a better example to look at. You say, is it your son or daughter that is 6 months?
Son.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes. So, as your son comes up behind you, you're going to want him to kind of emulate some of the things that you're about, right? Because that's what you're teaching him. And so when you see that, and I can't tell you now that I will spoil for you, when you are teaching a child, say, for instance, their ABCs, you're saying it over and over again, or you're singing it to them over and over again, and you're doing it because it's like one day they're going to know their ABCs. The moment that they turn, or you're just, washing dishes or something, and they're at the kitchen table and they're singing the alphabet and you hear it for the first time, it's such an amazing moment because you realize you have imparted a part of yourself into them, and so that's going to be your experience over and over again, and so it's important, that going into this new normal, that we are aware of that and that we recognize that how it's not so much what we go through, it's how we go through it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so if we go through it properly, and come out on the other side, we're going to be such better people and so much better of a community, of people in society in general, that we can make a better world and a better quality of life for those coming behind us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Not what we go through, but how we go through it.
How we go through it. Absolutely.
And you mentioned, my son following behind me and being prepped, and say, I mean, I would love for him to get in the media just like me, but that's up to him. I'm not going to really push. I might try to inspire, but I'm not, but I'm not going to shove him into something he doesn't want to do.
That's right. Of course.
But I remember, getting out of college, getting out of film school, graduating, and like, how do I get a gig?
Yeah.
And so it was like, who, and maybe some classifieds. You might have had to, subscribe to a magazine and read the classifieds in the back, and then somehow, write them a letter, or you got to make phone calls. And then, I think about, I got lucky because right out of college, I got a job at Discovery Channel, Silver Spring.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So that was kind of lucky.
Yeah.
Just because everybody from Discovery was going to everybody from Towson was going to Discovery.
Okay.
In Silver Spring. And I think there was also Howard, Towson, University of Maryland, Baltimore, something or other. There was like three different universities that it was just word of mouth. Like, hey, hey, you just graduated, we got a slot open. All right, I'll be right over, and so on.
Awesome.
But while I was at Discovery, it was like 07, 08. Then there was Craigslist, and there was like a lot of gigs posted on Craigslist. And then the website Backstage and the website Production Hub.
Yes.
And the website Staff Me Up. And now all those websites have apps. And now there's, Crew Me Up, Staff Me Up, Production Hub, Backstage, Actors Access.
Yes. Casting networks.
Dragon Up.
Yeah.
Dragon Up just for the DMV, and I think also Delaware, Philly, New Jersey, New York. I think they cover it, and I think some of the southern states too. But mostly DMV is, Dragon Up. I got more work off of just Dragon Up than I did really anything else.
Brian started that.
Yeah, I remember I got my first acting gig right off of my first deployment in 2015, which touches upon like, who are we as actors?
Yeah.
And so me as an actor, I'm more of a filmmaker. I want to make film. I want in front or behind the camera. I want to make film. I know where my strengths are. I know what my talents lie. With my military and law enforcement, my military police, as far as military goes, military police. So my strengths lie in playing law enforcement and military roles.
Yeah.
I'm basically Glenn Nelson playing a cop in front of the camera. When it's all edited together, he's got a different name, but it's basically just Glenn Nelson being a detective on camera, being a military role on camera.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's basic. I, I, I don't want to admit or try to pass it off as laziness, but it's just this more determination to work on film
Yeah.
that as far as acting goes,
Yeah.
I'm, you know, kind of doing that Tom Cruise, Tommy Lee Jones type of deal where it's kind of just them
Yeah.
in that role. You know, it's always them as that person.
Yes. Yes.
I think every once in a while, Tom Cruise and Tommy Lee Jones have delved off and really did some method, but most of the times it's Tommy Lee Jones in that movie. You're
Yeah.
watching Tommy Lee Jones or you're watching Tom Cruise.
Yeah, that's the difference between you know, someone who is an actor and a celebrity, right? Because then you start when they're an actor, kind of working it out and hard working things, you say, "Did you see whatever the name of the film is?" Right? But when they get to the point of celebrity, you say, "Hey, have you seen that Tom Cruise film?"
Yeah.
Right? It's not even about the work anymore, it's really about the person, right?
But I disagree because they're still good actors.
Oh
They're
yeah,
still
absolutely. Yeah, I'm not
fantastic
taking that from them
actors.
at all. Oh, absolutely. They just
But
achieve a certain level where
yeah,
we are their work is so branded in terms of their
yeah.
work in it, you know, that they are the brand at
With
that point.
yeah, with the exception of Hateful Eight and Django Unchained, I'd say Sam Jackson is just the same Sam
Yeah.
Jackson in
Same
every movie. But
exactly.
he's so good at that, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of times I slip up and call him Nick Fury.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
not Nick Fury, Sam Jackson. Now
Right.
that's where his career is.
Right.
That's where his celebrity or that's where his work has brought him now.
That's
Is
right.
that you accidentally call him Nick Fury now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Sam Jackson's been the same character in
That's right.
you know
Right.
in just about every film with the exception of Django and I'd say Hateful Eight and and a lot of the Spike Lee stuff. He's really had a range.
Yeah.
Spike
Oh,
Lee really had him pull out a range.
yeah. Yeah.
But even though Sam Jackson's just playing Sam Jackson and everything,
Yeah.
he's still phenomenal. He's
Still
still
phenomenal. Exactly. Who he knows how to apply Sam Jackson to
yeah,
the project. That's
exactly.
what that comes down to. When you're good enough to do that, you
Yeah,
know, there
you
are a
know,
lot of people out there. And then there are some that are not so great at it, you know, that they put that work out there as themselves and we see them every time. And so we don't really, you know, hook into them or connect to them as much as we would a Sam Jackson,
exactly.
you know.
Because you know, as a filmmaker and as an actor, I'm willing to grow a beard or shave. I'm willing to shave my head or grow my hair out or get a
Yeah.
weird haircut. I'm
Mhm.
willing to dress up like whatever.
Yeah.
But my three rules as an actor is connect to the character, be comfortable in front of the camera, connect to the character, and remember your lines.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Hmm.
really, at the end of the day, you're going to see Glenn Nelson as Detective Smith or Sergeant Jones.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
really, that's it. Because again, I know where my strengths lie.
Yeah.
Most important for me is the work. I'm not going to. The most important, actually, the most important thing for me is the film.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say, oh yeah, I could play the roles that Johnny Depp plays because I'm an egotistical actor or I want to I want to challenge. I do want to challenge, but not at the risk of the film.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas at the end of the day, let's be honest, this is a job.
Yes.
I'm going to take a job that I know I'm good at.
Hmm. Hmm.
As I build that skill set as an actor, maybe, you know, eventually work my way up to playing, you know, the Mad Hatter or
Yeah.
an alien or something. And I could probably pull off an alien that's, you know, like a bounty hunter alien or like some, you know, military tyrant alien or something like that. But I could build myself up to that method
Yeah.
or that or adding to my arsenal as an actor. But right now it's like, listen, I know where my strengths lie.
Yeah.
You want detective something, racist cop, not racist cop, regular cop, good cop, bad cop, detective, crooked detective, or the internal affairs detective that he knows the other detectives bad. Like I can play all those guys.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing about it, you know, of course, is there's a huge difference between film and stage,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because film And that's why, you know, there are certain people you can just put them on camera. They have no acting training whatsoever. It's more about the lighting and the angle, and you know, it just sit there. You don't even have to have any expression. Just say the words.
Yeah.
You know, and that's it. No acting involved, right? In
Absolutely.
terms of just stand there and just say the line. But in character acting, in terms of just building, you know, training out of the theater, you can adapt to those things so much easier, you know, and you'll get to a point where you can play all these other characters, and be believable in them. You
Hmm.
know, I look at people like, oh, I love Al Pacino. Oh, his work is just so meticulous. It's
Hmm.
so awesome. Denzel Washington, he's another one that I can just sit and watch. It's like, how do they transform themselves so much?
Yeah.
But they're doing the character work, you know, that's behind the character. They're doing all that biography on who this person is, and you know, really becoming one with that, you know, in order to take on, you know, this character. When I see something like Devil's Advocate, you know, I watched that probably 10 times. And every time I found something new. And of course, you know, being in the industry as long as I have, I'm watching his work more
Hmm.
than I'm being entertained, right? I'm not watching it for entertainment values for the most part. Maybe the first time, but after that, I'm like scrutinizing it and critically looking at it. And I noticed certain subtleties every
Yeah.
single time that was like, oh my God, I never saw that, you know, or that is brilliant what he did, you know, just over and over again, you know. And then I look at a Denzel Washington who, you know, he can play John Q, you know, and our hearts are sobbing with him in the
Hmm.
hospital with his son, you know, needing this transplant. And then we turn around and see him playing Training Day, and we believe it that he's this horrible cop. You
Yeah.
know, it's just
Yeah.
amazing, you know, those people who are able to do that. And so that's what we strive toward, you know, and that's that, you know, you've got that stage background, you know, with that training and so forth, and you can just adapt to those different characters and do the work, you know, that's behind them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So,
and you know, I agree that there is this kind of celebrity thing. There is this familiar faces type deal. And you're right. You know, Denzel went from, you know, Mo Better Blues
yeah.
to Glory
Hmm.
to, oh, he played a Jamaican cop in,
Oh,
oh
what's
gosh, what the heck
that?
was that?
Uh,
Robert Townsend was in it.
yeah. Oh, why can't I call the name? Not Devil. Oh gosh, what is
It had a name like The Devil's Den,
dress? Something about a
but that
blue
wasn't.
dress, I think.
Well, no, that's Devil in a Blue Dress. He was the private eye in Devil in Blue Dress.
Right.
He was
That was
American.
different. Okay.
He was
Yep.
American in that. Devil in the Blue Dress was an incredible movie.
Hmm.
And then you know, but and Malcolm, he can play Malcolm X,
Yeah.
and then the Hurricane,
Hurricane. Exactly.
and then an evil, despicable, crooked
Yeah.
cop,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Ruthless.
yeah,
Ruthless.
ruthless, yeah, and so he has his works where
Yeah.
he's so
Yeah.
transformative.
Yeah.
He's so
The way
chameleon like. But
that
then there's a bunch of works he's done where it's like he's kind of Denzel.
uh-huh.
You know,
Yeah.
he has that.
Yeah, it's a balance because we all
Yeah,
take ourselves onto the film, right? We are the character, you know.
yeah.
It's kind of like allowing the character to be poured into us and then becoming as close to that person as possible to present,
Hmm.
you know, who they are. But we're the container,
Right.
you know, that they're poured into. So of course some of us is going to play through. Yeah.
Yeah, but also, um, for me, Ice-T has played the same character on SVU
Yeah.
for
I
20 years, maybe
yeah, yeah,
15 years, and
yeah.
he's still entertaining. He's pretty much playing the same. He's pretty much Ice-T as a cop.
Yeah.
He's pretty much playing the same cop he played in New Jack City
Uh-huh.
in SVU.
Right.
Not the same name,
Right.
but it's the same performance.
Right.
He's probably building off of cops he dealt with when he
Mhm.
was younger, maybe.
Yeah, yeah,
He has a military background. I think he did a 4-year contract and he got out as a specialist from the Army. So
yeah.
he's got a number of, you know, these little tools in his arsenal to play a cop, to play a detective.
Yeah.
But
And
after 50,
don't forget he had his whole musical fan base.
of
You know,
course,
I'm sure that
do, we,
you know,
do people even know that? Do people even remember that?
I don't know if they remember, but I think of Will
Yeah,
Smith. You know, it's like
yeah,
at the time when Hollywood, if you will, when they
D-
were pulling in all of these rappers and music artists, it was because of their fan base. They were trying
DJ
to
Jazzy
pull
Jeff and the Fresh
popularity
Prince.
to their project.
DJ
That's
Jazzy Jeff.
oh yeah, most
Yep.
definitely, you know. And
Like
I mean,
maybe,
great that it turned out well for them.
and they were like three, maybe four albums into it, and then DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Then they did Fresh Prince of Bel Air, but I think there were three.
Oh, they did tons of music before then. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Even when they
three.
were kind of
Yeah,
unknown, I loved it. It was just free spirited, you know,
yeah,
what they had to offer and they were just putting it out there.
yeah.
And then it just grew from there. And then the popularity, I think Summertime was one of the biggest hits for Will.
That's right. That had to be the hit that kind of spawned
On it exactly, yeah. And I
Fresh
think at that
Prince.
time, you know, you had Quincy Jones who got wind of him, and then you
Mm-hmm.
know Ben Medina and those kinds of people who can make things happen, you know. So that
Yep.
was again blessing, you know.
So, what would be one last point, one last bit of advice for our viewers?
Okay. I would put it in two words. Character matters. We're hearing a lot about what matters. I think it matters most, you know, and again, it's that self-eval, you know, where we have to sit down and look in the mirror and say, who is that person? And is that person his or her best? You know, and if not, and all of us would have to say not, because we're none of us are perfect, right? We all lose it and miss it. But looking at that person and saying, how can I make that person better? You know, these are the areas that I may strive toward and I'm doing pretty good, but there's these things here that are not up to par, you know, and I need to work on these things, you know, and then give ourselves time and you know, be patient with ourselves in that process. Just make it an ongoing process where we're getting better and better each day, again, for the betterment of the entire humanity, you know, and the community. So I would say character matters. And so be your best you for not just yourself, but for other people.
That's the first time I've heard something like that. That's fantastic. Character matters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, CARLYNCIA Peck, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. I think
Having
we're
me.
about to crack an hour 40. That was a good one.
That's
Yeah. But
wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. And I wish you
absolutely. Thanks
well
for
with your projects and certainly the live streaming and things. And I'm looking
yeah.
forward to checking them out as you do more.
Absolutely. Please do. Yeah. And I'm definitely going to check out all your links. Well, which brings me to, are there any links, socials, plugs you want to put out there
Yeah,
before we go?
definitely. Well, definitely our website, www.viagentertainment.com. It's spelled V as in Victor, IAJ as in Jerry, entertainment.com. I should say J as in Jehovah because it's via Jehovah, but viagentertainment.com. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. Also for our artistic empowerment side of things, same thing, you know, artisticempowerment.org. And again, that's more community related in terms of our projects over there. But you know, maybe people out there want to volunteer. We are always looking for volunteers. We're always looking for donations, especially during this time. We had to kind of transform one of our programs from. We have a partnership with the University of Maryland to do a program we call Tail Talk and Tour, where we actually provide free transportation over to the Clarice. We have a backstage tour, which is full with just all, not just explanations and seeing the pretty things over there, but learning about acoustics and what types of jobs are behind the curtain, those kinds of things. And then a free show, which is phenomenal. And then talking about it, you know, meeting the production crew or the choreographer, if it's a dance showcase or something. So exposing people to the arts, that's what we were doing for the last 3 years. That program was up. But we've had to transform that into Netflix watch parties, you know, because we can't go to the theater. It's closed, you know.
Yeah.
But we're still providing that experience for people and then doing discussion afterward. And we've chosen, because of, you know, all the unrest that we're experiencing, to provide this as an avenue for people to be able to talk it out, you know, in a healthy environment that's safe, you know, that we're talking about these issues and how do we get to resolution, you know, how can we work on it together, you know, those kinds of things. So we're going to be actually the month of October and November, we're going to be watching the Netflix series When They See Us, 2 episodes in
Yeah.
October,
Yeah.
episodes in November. And then Oprah did a wonderful interview afterward, not just with the exonerated 5 characters in the movie, but the actual people. So talking through those things and saying, you know, how can we bring healing? How can we come together and heal? So those are the kind of projects that Artistic Empowerment Center is doing. But, you know, so we ask you to join us at all of the different platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, certainly our websites. And you can reach us at 240-623-0800 for more information on any of that stuff. But yeah, we certainly, you know, we're in this together, you know, so let's make the best of it.
Well, I can tell you're serious about it. I've never had a guest that put a phone number out there. So
Oh yeah, I'm serious for
so
sure.
it's up to you guys to blow her phone up and try to, you know, help volunteer
Yeah.
or you know, jump on the set or what have you. They're back on set already. So
Oh yeah.
that's great. Well, Carlyncia, I can't thank you enough for coming on. A lot of great ideas and inspiration and stories. And check out our links in the description below. They're all right there. To my viewers, I hope I've earned the privilege of your time and viewership. I know my guest has, CARLYNCIA PECK. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And until next time, you know what to do.
Great to be.